I found that in order to achieve a level of success where you feel deeply fulfilled, two things need to happen. One, you need a process, a tried and tested formula that works. We have that formula. And two, you need to put the effort into the process. In other words, do the process. Some will also say that you need luck, and maybe that's true, but luck by definition is not something you can control. Effort, on the other hand, is something that you can control. I've also found that the harder I work, the luckier I seem to get. This graph shows the correlation between the level of effort you're willing to put into the process and also your level of fulfillment that you'll get out of the process. The probability of living a fulfilling life for those who have no goals is next to zero, if not zero itself. Now, having goals, but only in your head, increases those odds slightly. Having written goals increases the odds of success immensely. Add a plan to that, and now you're talking. Taking the time to write out your plan, look out. Having a strategy for ensuring that you're executing your plan is like throwing steroids on your plan's chances of success. An example of that is figuring out an accountability strategy to be sure that you execute on your plan. As we'll discuss, coaching is the best type of accountability strategy. And of course, execution should mean that your fulfillment is all but guaranteed. That's as long as you've settled on the right goals and have well-designed plans, of course. So do you want to know the secret formula for a happy and fulfilled life? Well, after many years of trial and error myself, I believe I have the secret, and I'm going to reveal it to you now. Here's the answer. It's the Arootah success formula. Look, this isn't rocket science. In fact, it's just pure common sense. However, I've found that common sense ain't that common. Secondly, each of these components of the formula have their own series of steps, and that's where the secret sauce is located. We're going to take you through some of the key components in the limited time that we have here, but I encourage you to explore this even deeper for more fulfillment. Remember, effort is correlated with fulfillment. First, you want to create a mission statement for your life. Then you create a gap analysis so you can see where you currently are in your mission and what still needs to be done to accomplish it. Then you'll set a series of goals to close those gaps in your mission. Next, you'll create plans to achieve those goals. Within the plans, you'll have a series of actions that will need to be prioritized. You'll schedule in the prioritized actions and then execute on your actions. Next, you'll measure the results you're getting to see if you're getting closer to your mission. Perhaps you're getting further away. If so, revise your approach to tweak and improve upon any of the previous components to the formula. Finally, keep proceeding with this process until you accomplish your mission, one goal at a time. However, one of the biggest obstacles that I've found to accomplishing your mission resides in steps 6 through 10. That's where being held accountable to the plan resides. We'll talk a little bit about some of the tools that Arootah has to overcome the accountability monster a little later. The first step in our process is to prepare a personal mission statement. Why is this necessary? Because the goals of your life need to be in alignment with your ultimate mission, which is basically a global goal. A mission statement is a written master blueprint for your life. It tells us and you what you intend to do with your limited time here on this earth. It answers a few questions, but perhaps the most important one is, what do you value most? Your values should align with your principles and the corresponding code of conduct. The code of conduct is what you intend to live by. If you're in alignment with your values, you'll experience a meaningful life filled with the deepest levels of fulfillment on all levels of your being. And this is the ultimate goal. Live intentionally and take charge. Utilize the gift to be the creator of your life. By the way, if you don't take charge and create a blueprint for your life, chances are you'll become part of somebody else's mission, which might be okay if their mission aligns with your values. The key is that you want to be proactive, not reactive. It's estimated that only 3% of people have a mission statement for their lives, and the other 97% work for those 3%. The best way to think about your mission statement is to begin with the end in mind. What do you want your life to look like when all is said and done? You don't want to just be racking up any victories along the way. You want to be racking up the right victories, those that align with your values. For instance, while money is a nice goal, you need to put it in the proper perspective. Two friends were at a funeral for another friend who was extremely ambitious, and it was known that his number one priority was his financial net worth. One friend asked the other, "Hey, how much did he leave behind?" The other friend answered, "All of it. So you can't take it with you. Make sure you focus on what's most important while you're here." Now, people get nervous when embarking on the big picture. They fear they'll screw up their life. What if they do it wrong? So what you need to do is break the process down into areas of your life and then the categories within those areas. For instance, health is an area that is comprised of various categories such as exercise, rest, and nutrition, for example. You also need to define who you are in these areas, or in other words, what roles do you play? In the area of family, for instance, your roles might be mother, a sister, or a daughter. Once you do this, Ask yourself the following 3 questions for each area and/or role. What values do I want to exhibit for this area, category, or role? What principles do I want to abide by for this area, category, or role? What will be my code of conduct for this area, category, or role? So step 1 in preparing your mission statement is to identify the main areas of your life. In my work over the years, I've found that everybody pretty much has the same 10 main areas of their lives. That said, there could be others, so feel free to create your own. The categories that we feel are predominant for most people are health, growth, family, partner, your career, contribution, social, finance, leisure, that could be renewal, and environment, where you are. Now, step 2 in preparing your mission statement is to get specific on the categories within the main areas of your life. If you just develop your mission statement based on the areas of your life, it could be too broad. For example, within the area of health, there are the categories of exercise, nutrition, and rest. For finance, it might be investments, savings, or estate planning. For leisure, it might be hobbies, activities, or just plain old fun. What we're doing here is setting the table to be thinking about what some possible goals are for our lives. Step 3 in preparing your mission statement is to get specific on the roles in your life for each of the 10 areas. You can also look to the categories to help you define these roles in the 10 areas. For example, in the area of growth, the category could be education, and your role could be teacher or coach. Step 4 in preparing your mission statement is to get specific on the values that you wish to embody for each of the 10 areas of your life. Values are simply what standard or standards of behavior you consider to be most important in this particular area of your life. They inform you of your mindset about this area, which are your principles. You can also look to the categories and roles to help you define these values. For instance, a possible value for your partner is love, and for your career is passion. Step 5 in preparing your mission statement is to get specific on the principles that you wish to embody that align with the values for each of the 10 areas of your life. Principles are mindsets or beliefs that provide you with the guidance to make judgments about how to live a life consistent with your values. Principles are a statement, whereas values are usually a single word. Here are some questions to help you elicit principles. Who do I want to be? What mindset or belief do I want to embody when I need to make a judgment about a particular value? What are some synonyms for the value that I want to embrace? Quotes on the value are good sources for principles. For instance, in the area of finance and the category of investments, under the role of entrepreneur, a value might be abundance, and a principle could be, I believe that there's always more than enough to go around if I seek. Now, step 6 in preparing your mission statement is to get specific on the code of conduct that you wish to embody for each of the 10 areas of your life. This is the action or actions that you'll take for a given value. Follow the sequence to make it easy for you. Area, category, role, value, principle, and now a code of conduct that aligns with them all. A code of conduct is a set of standards of consistent behavior that are aligned with your values and principles. So here, for example, in the area of finance, the category would be investments. The role is entrepreneur. The value is abundance. The principle is, I embody belief that there is always more than enough to go around. The code of conduct would be, in any business situation, I first do what it takes to make the pie bigger for everybody. Now it's time to put it all together and decide upon your ultimate purpose. Is there one common theme that you have for your life? There are some ways to figure this out. The first is to figure out your primary question. Is there a dominant question, though, or questions that you ask yourself consistently that drives your behavior? Next, we also have primary beliefs. They're usually related to your primary question. What are your primary beliefs? Finally, we have causes that we consistently support. I found that usually the causes that we support on a consistent basis are related in some way or fashion to our primary purpose, also known as our mission in life. So my primary questions are, why don't we always do what's in our best interest all the time? I ask this question because I'm constantly in search of the answer to my other primary question, which is, how can we always do what's in our best interest all the time? My primary belief is there are methods of thinking that can lead us to maximize our potential, or in other words, self-actualization. The causes that I support are empowering people to think in ways that support their ultimate goal, which is a state of deep fulfillment. The ultimate purpose of my life is to be in service of all who are striving for self-actualization, to become the best version of themselves as I too strive to become the best version of myself. In the area of health, I'll focus on nutrition, exercise, and sleep. I value energy, balance, and focus in my roles of learner, meditator, and practitioner. I believe that energy is both the foundation and driving force of all action, and I'll fuel my body and mind with healthy food and stimulating activity to prepare for action. In the area of family, I'll focus on parents, siblings, and extended family. I value compassion, harmony, and unity in my roles of child and brother and caregiver. I believe that a caring support system is the glue to create strong bonds, and I'll put myself in others' shoes to feel their feelings and offer my support. Now that we're done with the first step, the mission statement, we are primed with our global blueprint, which is necessary to create our more detailed goals. But first, we need to understand what we've done already in our progress towards achieving our mission, and then identify how much more we need to go in each of the areas and categories of our lives. To do that, we need to prepare a gap analysis, and that's step 2 of the Arootah success formula. I doubt your lives are already a picture of the vision of what your mission statement looks like, known as your vision statement. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Therefore, we need to create a gap analysis for all the various areas of your life. We'll examine what the gaps are between your current state and what your desired state is in each of these areas at the category level. Otherwise, it'll be too broad. That's what we talked about before. It won't be useful if it's done at that level. The overall desired state is your mission. Right? That's the big target. The gap is the bridge we need to cross to get you to the promised land. Crossing this bridge is the goal, and we'll need a plan to get to it. On the other side of the bridge is where fulfillment lies. Now, before we begin with this process, it's important to discuss measurement. Why? In order to be successful with this process, you must be able to measure your progress with respect to taking action towards achieving any goal. Otherwise, you won't know if you're getting closer or further away from the goal. Therefore, it's crucial to use some type of measurement system to track your progress towards achieving your goals and thus closing your gaps. It's also important to pick as specific a measure as possible. Now, this can take some time, and it also takes a lot of effort if the answer isn't initially clear, such as a goal in teamwork. A less effective measure, but one that is also less time-consuming, is measuring your current and target scores with respect to your level of satisfaction in a particular category on a 1 to 10 scale. However, this should only be done if the goal is very subjective or judgment-based, as opposed to factual and objective, and only after much thought has been given to arriving at a more specific form of measurement. It's also better to have a goal that you can specifically measure so you know the real level of progress you're making. You can't manage what you don't measure. So now we have the categories of the main areas of our lives. We need to decide if we're happy with our current status, condition, state, situation, etc. in these areas. So usually each area can stand for at least some improvement. That might mean spending less time in one area that you're good in, so you have more time to spend in another area where you need work. The process is evaluating where you are in a particular category in your life, your current status, your current state, and then deciding where you want to be, which is your target state. And the difference between the two is the gap. Right? Want to close that gap. Now, remember during the mission statement process, within each area of your life, we identified various categories. If you just set goals at the area level, like health, for example, it's going to be too broad. You need to get down to the category level, like exercise, and come up with your specific goal at that level, and even deeper sometimes. Perhaps like aerobic or anaerobic exercise. As we discussed, a crucial factor in successful goal setting is that the goals are specifically measurable. Without breaking down the areas into categories, not only will you be likely to leave out important components of the global area, but it'll be harder to measure something specifically. For instance, what is more difficult to measure? The area of health or the category of sleep? Health is much more difficult to measure, of course. It's just too broad to measure. But sleep, on the other hand, you can measure very specifically by, say, the number of hours that you get. So the first step in the gap analysis process will be to identify the areas and categories within those areas. Steps 2, 3, and 4 comprise the actual gap analysis part of the Arootah success formula. This is done at the category level. Remember, we have areas and categories within the areas. Step 2 is to list for each category, like exercise, where you currently are, ideally in a specific form of measurement like hours or days. For example, perhaps you're getting 1 hour of exercise per week. Step 3 is to state the target. Where do you want to be? Perhaps you want to be getting 3 hours of exercise per week. Step 4 is to state the gap, which is just the difference between the two, right? That's 2 hours. Remember, the importance of measurement is key here. So this is hours for us. Your scoring can be on a 1 to 10 scale if what you're measuring is very subjective. However, much better to have a specific form of measurement like time, dollars, calories, body fat, etc. Do not state your goal yet. That's going to be the next step, step 5. We want to chat about the importance of goals before we do that. Now that we know what our gaps are, it's time for us to set some goals. We needed to do the other steps first, though, in order to set our goals properly. This is step 3 of the Arootah success formula. This is where the rubber meets the road. So let's jump in and set some goals. Let's talk about the most important ingredient for a fulfilling life. Goals. Goals are the subsets of your mission, and your mission is just a global goal. The bottom line is that successful people set goals. The more specific and focused the goal, the greater your probability of success. Top-level athletes, successful business people, and achievers of all fields set goals. Setting goals gives you long-term vision and short-term motivation. Goals are a trigger for your behavior. They focus you in on the knowledge you need to acquire. They also guide you to where you should be spending your time and energy so you get the highest return on these valuable, limited, intrinsic resources. Goals are what take us forward in life. They're the oxygen to our dreams. They're the first steps on every journey we take, and likely the last. It's very important that you realize the significance of goal setting, and just as important that you apply this knowledge in your life. Remember, knowledge will not apply itself. Now, there are certain principles that should be followed when setting goals. All major goals should be written out. Goals that are not in writing are far less likely to be accomplished than those that are carefully written out. The likelihood of achieving a given goal in writing is 1,000% greater than an unwritten goal in your head. It gets embedded deeply into your subconscious mind when you put it in writing, and your subconscious mind is a powerful force when working to achieve your goals. Next, be very specific when writing out your goals. What exactly is it that you want to accomplish? Third, have a specific measurement so that you can track progress and be sure you'll know when the target is met. Times, amounts, or other specific units of measurement are key. Goals should be challenging. In other words, not too easy, but also attainable. You should encounter obstacles, but know that they can be overcome with persistence and an excellent plan. They are in alignment with achieving your mission. And finally, goals should be time-bound, meaning that they have a start time and a deadline. A goal without a start line rarely gets started, and a goal without a deadline rarely gets completed. So now step 5 in our goal setting process is to actually state our goals in writing. Since we've done a gap analysis, this should be much easier. For each of the categories, state the specific goals you need to accomplish to close the gap. Remember that they should be specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. We're going to get to this in the project planning phase. A crucial part of any goal setting process is to be sure that you have a strong reason to achieve your goal. This is known as your purpose. You need a strong why this goal needs to be done. The reason for this is that goals take effort. If you don't have a good reason or purpose or why you should expend the effort, you won't do it. This is especially important when you encounter obstacles, like not wanting to get out of bed when you want to work out, right? You want to go to the gym, you're like, oh, I don't want to get out of bed. But if you have strong purpose, you'll get your blank out of bed and hit the gym. Having a strong purpose is also a great procrastination and distraction buster. It helps you to get started. Now, my favorite example of purpose is depicted by the parking lot of a gym. What does the parking lot of a gym look like in the winter? It's usually pretty empty. Why? Nobody has to really show off their body in the winter. We're all bundled up. But what happens in the springtime? What season's right around the corner? Summer, I'll tell you what season, right? All of a sudden, the gym parking lots are full. Why? Because summer's coming. Clothes are coming off, and they need to get their bodies into shape to show them off because they want to attract a mate. So they hit the gym regardless of whether they feel like it or not. That's what purpose is, and that's why it's so crucial for your goals. Make sure you have a strong purpose for any goal that you set, so you're incentivized to fight through any obstacles that come between you and achieving your goal. Now, step 6 in our goal setting process is to come up with a strong purpose for each of your goals so you have a strong reason to follow through on the execution of your plan and achieve your goals. In summary, when you go through the process, either by yourself or ideally at our workshop or with a coach, which increases your probability of success, this is what you should have so far for each area of your life, like health, family, career, finances, social life, etc. Number 1, the category within the area. So exercise would be a category. Then you'll do your gap analysis, where you currently are, where your target is, and what the gap is that needs to be closed. Set a specific goal. That's number 5. And don't forget to have a strong purpose for achieving the goal. Okay, so where are we in the formula? Number 1, we designed a mission statement for your life. Number 2, we identified the gaps in the key areas of your life that are keeping you from accomplishing your mission. Number 3, we set a series of goals that put you on the path to accomplishing your mission. Now we need a plan to achieve each of the goals. That's step 4. Most people stop right here, by the way, after they set their goals, but not us. You're part of the very few that want to persist until you get some results. So let's keep going, shall we? Let's go. What almost always happens when people make New Year's resolutions? I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to lose 15 pounds, they say in their drunken stupor. The next time they usually think about these resolutions is when? Next New Year's Eve, right? Why don't they get it done? I'll tell you why. They don't have a plan. They're missing the 5th step in the success formula. A goal without a plan is just a wish. It won't happen. By failing to plan, you're planning to fail. Not us. We're not going to plan to fail. We're going to have a plan. So the 3 big areas for having plans are, number 1 is brainstorming. That's the global area. Number 2 is identifying the obstacles. And then number 3 is what all people think about for a plan is an action list. So let's go into it in a little bit more detail. Brainstorming is the first step to coming up with an awesome plan. Dump everything out of your brain. Don't skip this step. Don't skip this brainstorming step. Think about anything that you can that relates to accomplishing your goal. Resources like people or technology or random ideas, information about the goal, etc. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Now, before coming up with the action items for your plans, it's a good idea to identify why you haven't been able to achieve a particular goal previously. Plan to overcome these obstacles when they arise. Add your solutions to your plan. Obstacles can be as simple as a limiting belief about something. Now it's time to identify potential action items. These action items are going to be necessary for you to achieve your goal. Ask, how am I specifically going to achieve my goal? Remember, Add in actions that will overcome the hurdles, the obstacles that you've previously encountered. Look at your brainstorming list for ideas for actions. Look online for ideas. Come up with a lot of ideas at this stage. Now get more specific with your actions and write them down in your plan. Put down more rather than less. You won't need them all to achieve your goal, but it's important to put a bunch down now so you can figure out which are the most important. That'll be prioritization. More on that in a little bit. Remember, like your goals, your actions should be very clear and specific. Clear actions will lead to a higher probability of achieving your goal. Unclear, general actions like you see here won't get you there. List the specific action items to take to achieve that goal. Okay, so where are we now in the formula? Number 1, we designed the mission statement for your life. Number 2, we identified the gaps in the key areas of your life that keep you from accomplishing your mission. Number 3, we set a series of goals that put you on the path to accomplishing your mission. Number 4, we have a plan with action items to achieve the goals. But do we really need to complete all of the actions to achieve the plan? Let's see. Next step is to prioritize. Prioritize the actions in our plan. First, a word on prioritization though. This is perhaps the most important key to the whole process. Time is our most limited resource. We want to get the highest return on it. The way to do that is to prioritize those actions and goals that have the greatest impact per unit of time on our mission. We shouldn't be spending our time on actions that have a lesser impact than those with a greater impact, right? That's what happens when you procrastinate. An important rule that is used when it comes to prioritizing where you should be spending your time is the 80-20 rule, also called the Pareto principle. The 80-20 rule states that 20% of the actions you take comprise 80% of the progress towards completion of that goal. So the key is to figure out which 20% of the actions to take. Many times 80% is enough of the way they are to be fulfilled. We want to avoid perfectionism, since there's really no such thing as being perfect, right? Regardless though, it's just plain smarter to at least first do those action items that get you the closest to achieving your goals in the most efficient and effective manner. Warren Buffett and Greg McKeown, they all have some really interesting takes on this, something you might research a little bit more. The moral of the story, focus on the highest priority action items first. All right, so here's an example of the 80-20 rule in practice. Of this list of 10 action items, 2 are deemed to be the most important towards achieving the goal of losing 100 pounds. If the 80-20 rule works, and I've tried it before, it does work, then taking these 2 actions will lead to a loss of 80 of the 100-pound weight loss goal. I haven't tried that particular one, but I tried it in some business settings. Here's how you prioritize a list. Compare the first action list to the second action. Ask if there were only 2 actions to take, which would have the greatest impact on your goal. If the second action has a greater impact than the first action, then that action becomes the new number 1. Otherwise, move on to compare the first action to the third action and so on. Do this for all the items in the list until you prioritize them all. Once complete, start with the second action item and compare that one to all the other ones in the list. Just keep following that same process. Prioritize each of the actions for your goal. The idea is to come up with your top 2. You can prioritize the prioritizing a list method that we just talked about to find the top 2 prioritized actions for each goal. If your list is 10 items, then following the 80-20 rule, these first 2 will get you 80% of the way towards achieving your goal. For many goals, that might be good enough if the time and energy required for the other 8 actions, an additional 20%, will keep you from focusing on other higher priorities. Let's think first about setting some deadlines. First of all, though, why are deadlines important? Well, deadlines create a sense of urgency, which creates emotion. It can be panic or excitement, which creates energy, which creates action, which busts through procrastination, which also forces you to focus like a laser, which results in a higher level of creativity from being in the flow state. I'm in one right now, and this results in a better work product. Deadlines also, right? They help you to prioritize. They force you to ruthlessly eliminate those things that you don't have time for and to sequence those things that are time sensitive. Deadlines for our purposes are at 2 levels, one at the goal level and next at the action level. Remember, sequence can impact deadlines also, which may impact prioritization. Just keep that in mind. Step 9 is to set a start line at both the overall goal level and also at the action item level. And finally, step 10 is to set a deadline at both the overall goal level and also at the action item level. After you're done with your goals and your plans, you've got all these action items, you want to move the action items to the master plan in your workbook. For each of the areas of your life, you're going to have 3 goals and 2 actions per goal. In other words, you would have 30 goals and 60 actions, assuming you set 3 goals for each area and came up with actions for each goal. All right, now that we have our prioritized actions, the next step in our process is to schedule them in. This next step is crucial. Few people set goals, even fewer write them down, fewer still create written plans. Of the few that are left, only a few of these people actually schedule in the action items from their plans. If you don't schedule in your actions, they are not real. The plan won't work itself. That's what they mean when they say, you need to work the plan. Scheduling your actions is the first step in the execution process. Remember, it's not real until you schedule it in. It's just an idea. Scheduling in an action also provides the basis for an accountability strategy, especially if you schedule another person in with you. Why? People tend to keep meetings they schedule with others, but if you have a one-person meeting, meaning a meeting with yourself, there's a good chance that that meeting won't happen. By the way, a crucial part of the process is to recognize that start lines are even more important than deadlines. Why? This is a procrastination buster. It's usually the hardest part of a project. If you just have a deadline, people tend to procrastinate and wait until the last minute. The work product suffers. However, I also don't like to start too early because I like the stress that elicits my most productive and creative state. It forces me to focus in like a laser on the task at hand, ruthlessly eliminating distractions out of necessity. I call it mindful procrastination, and I believe that there's an ideal time to start every project or goal. My team, however, kind of hates this concept of mindful procrastination. They don't like the stress. I tend to thrive on it. Instilling key habits are crucial for success. The habit of scheduling in your weekly priorities and then reviewing and amending your schedule daily is a key part of the process of achieving your goals. In fact, it's absolutely necessary if you wish to make consistent progress. All right, so the weekly process looks like this. Number 1, review your plans prior to the start of the week and identify the top 10 prioritized actions necessary to achieve your goals from each of the plans. So 10 actions in total from all of your goals. So you can do this on a Friday or over the weekend, but no later than Sunday night. You do not want to start your week on Monday without knowing what your priorities are for the week. Step 2, schedule these prioritized actions in for each day of the week. Again, these should be scheduled in prior to Monday morning. Otherwise, the week starts and you get caught up in the distractions of lesser important actions. By the way, these distractions are usually somebody else's priorities. Remember to leave open blocks of time for things that come up, as they inevitably will, so you don't have to cancel slots where your priorities are scheduled in. Also, don't forget to schedule in time for answering emails or other messages. The third step is identify less important items that have come up, but things that still should get done, like maybe you need a haircut. We'll call these less important items tasks. Fourth step is schedule in these tasks only if they fit in around your scheduled priorities. Priorities come first, then tasks are scheduled in around the priorities if you can fit them in. Now there's a daily process too. That's the weekly process. The daily process is execute on your schedule. First is the first part of the process. Remember to have an accountability strategy to be sure that you do what you've scheduled in unless a higher priority action comes along for the time slot. For busy, productive people like yourselves, that's certainly possible. Make sure you're held accountable to this schedule though. Second step is, at the end of the day, review your schedule. It should only take you a few minutes. Did you not get to one of your priorities for some reason? Did another higher priority come along that needed to be handled this week? If so, step 3 is revise the next day's schedule. If you didn't get to a scheduled in priority, don't let it just evaporate. Poof, never gets done. Schedule it for the next day for another day that week. And if another high priority action came in, schedule that in as well. It's important that you have a process for prioritizing. You should only be scheduling in actions that make a significant impact on your goals and your mission, obviously, because your goals are a subset of your mission. Look, the overarching point here is your time is the most valuable resource you have. Use it wisely and mindfully. Get a high return at it. Have a plan and a schedule. If you follow this process, I guarantee that at the end of the week, you'll look back and see you have had an amazingly productive week. However, not just productive doing the most important things that matter to you. Those things that made the greatest impact on achieving your goals and thus your mission. And remember, if you follow this entire process, your overall goal is your mission and you'll have made a major impact on that. At the end of the day, the end result should be a deep, satisfying feeling of fulfillment. So here's what it looks like practically. So again, the processes that you want to decide upon and distribute your priorities and tasks before Monday morning. So more specifically, first, identify your priorities from your plans. That's step 1. Then step 2 is to decide which of your priorities to be scheduled in and on what day of the week. Step 3 is to do the same things with your tasks, like checking your social media, right? If you think that's important. Stopping off at the local bookstore or getting a manicure or something like that, right? These are not priorities that will contribute to your mission, but they're still good to get them done if you can, but only if they fit around your priorities. Then schedule them in. First your priorities, and only then if there's room, your tasks. Simple as that. You can schedule them into a template or preferably into whatever calendar it is that you use. All right. So where are we now in the Arootah success formula process? We showed you how to 1, design a mission statement for your life. 2, identify the gaps in the key areas of your life. 3, set a series of goals that put you on the path to accomplishing your mission. 4, create a plan with action items to achieve the goals. 5, prioritize the actions in your plans. 6, schedule in the prioritized actions. Now, believe it or not, comes the hard part. The execution is the hardest part. Up until now, everything we've done is a mental exercise. Remember, All things are created twice. Once in the mind, which is the first creation, and that's what these first 6 steps are, and then again in the physical or material realm. It's like building a home. You can't start, you shouldn't start without a blueprint and a statement of work. Now it's time to get the hammers out. Now the good news is that Arootah is here to support you with both the mental part and the physical part. I've provided you with the knowledge about how to create a mission statement, set clear goals, and design plans to live your best life. Now it's up to you if you want help applying the knowledge. It'll take an investment though, an investment in yourself, right? Investment in your time. There's no better investment than an investment in yourself. That's why I do this, by the way. I learned a long time ago the value of coaching. I've done very well for myself. I don't need to do any of this. I do this because it's my way of giving back and serving. So how can we help? We can help with execution. Execution is really where the rubber meets the road. You have a plan, now you need to carry it out if you want to achieve your goals. Execution is really hard. Why? Well, I'll give you 4 reasons. I call these the intrinsic resources. First, time. Most people don't manage their time well. They just don't have the right mindset about it. They don't value it. They also don't have a process to know where to spend their time. The good news is that that's exactly what we've been doing here. How to get the highest return on your time. And that's to spend it on your top priorities, which will lead you to fulfilling your mission. The second reason why execution is hard, really, really hard, is that it takes energy. It takes energy to carry out your plan. A lot of energy. Energy is our most cherished, limited intrinsic resources that we have. Our brains are literally programmed to conserve our energy at all costs and only to use it if it serves our biological needs. I've got some news for you. Mental fulfillment isn't one of them. The point is that you need to push hard to rewire your internal programming to utilize this energy for your mental fulfillment and not just fulfilling your biological needs for survival and procreation. In our current world, in our current environment, this day and age, most of you already have those 2 taken care of anyway, at least the survival part. Another reason executing your plan is hard is it requires discipline. Now, discipline, this is another one of our limited resources. It's also known as willpower. Willpower comes from your mind and in the physical realm is manifested in your brain. We actually know where it's located in your brain. It's in the prefrontal cortex. Discipline is mainly about instilling the right habits in your life and eradicating those that don't serve you. And the last reason executing your goals is hard is another intrinsic resource, focus. In this day and age, the technology age, we have the least amount of focus ever. Why? Distraction. We're constantly being bombarded with distractions. Look at me. Listen to this. People and companies are constantly vying for your attention. They want you to focus on what they want from you, not what you want from you. Companies want your money, and to get it, they know they need your focus. They need your attention. You need to focus your attention on what's important to you, not what a company or somebody else wants from you. Time, energy, discipline, and focus. I call them the intrinsic resources. Why is coaching so important? Well, the first reason is mindset. A good coach will get you to think through what you need to think through with a positive mindset. For instance, crisis-tunity is one of my favorite mindsets. It's basically learning how to spot the opportunities in any crisis. It's more than just a silver lining. There are literally opportunities in any crisis if you train your mind to think in those terms. Gratitude is another wonderful mindset to have. A good coach will work with you to help you to think through these mindsets and help you to develop them. Now, another reason for hiring a coach is strategy. A good coach can really help you to think through things to help you through any challenge you have. Come up with a plan to overcome them. They'll be sure that you have the process in place to focus on your mission, set goals, and have plans to achieve those goals. They'll work with you to instill good habits and eradicate the bad. Now, my favorite reason for hiring a coach, though, is accountability. Your coach will serve you to help you stay accountable to your goals, to your mission. They'll be sure that if you aren't executing your plan, they'll do whatever it takes to get you back on track to execute. You must execute the plan. Life won't wait. It'll pass you by. Now, my passion for coaching is why I'm doing this. I really love my coaches, both past and present. They got me to where I am today. Really deeply grateful for their guidance and their love along the way. And I have a long way to go. That's why I still have my own coaches. In fact, I have 4 of them. I meet with 4 coaches every week. And if that's not counting trainers and my yoga person, I have 4 life coaches. The best investment you can make is an investment in yourself. I like top 10 lists, and this is a really important one. Now, the top 10 reasons why people don't keep their resolutions, otherwise as known as goals, are: number 1, accountability. They have no plan to be held accountable. A coach can help you do that. They've got no written plan. Plans must be written. That's the workshop. They're not specific enough. Remember, clarity is power. You need to be really specific with your goals. Procrastination. They put less important things ahead of the more important. Big mistake. Willpower issues, discipline issues. They aren't inspired to push through. Again, a coach can really help you with that. Momentum issues. They start and they stop. No good. That doesn't work with habits especially. Fear. They're paralyzed by fear. They have a poor mindset. Think about the crisis-tunity mindset. That gets you out of fear. Purpose. They lack a strong purpose for their goals. The strong why. Remember the gym example. Prioritization. They don't set their priorities. And now the biggest reason why people don't achieve their goals is They get caught up. They're distracted by what other people or companies want them to focus on. All right, so let's take an example of what happens to most people when they try to schedule, right? So today I'm going to meditate. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to schedule a goal setting workshop. Maybe sign up for a life coach, right? Ask your boss for a raise. Spend valuable time with my daughter. She's going to graduate soon. But instead they got distracted. They just get caught up. You can't get caught up. It's too important. This is your life we're talking about here. It's a very precious gift that's been given to you. Don't waste it by being distracted your whole life. Take charge of your life. Invest in yourself.